Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Sports. I am Ralph LaBella.
And I'm Ron Sen. And as always, there's a wealth of news within the sports world to discuss. First of all, a good story for Patriots fans is that Rodney Harrison was elected into the Patriots Hall of Fame on a fan vote, defeating Seymour and Vrabel, which is an accomplishment. Vrabel was a very popular player. Seymour not quite as much because he left on bad terms.
I think that was a good selection. But what is the season ticket holders vote on it?
I don't know.
Is that how it goes?
I don't know how you. It must be open to more.
But that was a good pick. And plus, he speaks well of the Patriots all the time.
Right.
I hear him on that Sunday morning show, Saturday mornings at times.
He's the only player who's ever had 30 or more sacks and 30 or more interceptions. So he was an accomplished player at San Diego before he came to the Patriots, and then he was I think he won 2 titles with the Patriots.
2 would have been 3 if he could have knocked that ball away.
Oh. Everyone remembers the David Tyree catch where Tyree somehow pinned the ball to his helmet. A miracle play. In baseball, there are major free agents still out there. Dallas Keuchel and Craig Kimbrell both seem unwilling to compromise on either the money or the length of contracts, and it could be that it's going to go into June. But I think after a certain point, then they no longer count against free agent compensation. So, but in the meantime, you know, obviously, if you get a guy in June who hasn't pitched in, 9 months, he's not going to be ready to play. So you're not getting a full season even. Yeah,
one team, when you have a team that's battling to get into the playoffs and their relief pitcher goes down, that's when they'll sign Kimbrell. And, he'll get his money eventually.
In a really unusual story, a NASCAR driver, Denny Hamlin, had to come out of a race because he had carbon monoxide poisoning because of fumes leaking into the vehicle. There's a very complicated exhaust and venting system in NASCAR vehicles, and the early symptoms are things like headaches, nausea, and dizziness, and apparently he had nausea and dizziness. So I don't know that there's any way to really prevent that more than they do. We were able to see a NASCAR race car at one of those New Hampshire liquor stores. We stopped to get food, and there was somehow they had a NASCAR event going on, and it was really fascinating to see the car.
I raced one once, right?
Yeah, tell the fans a little bit about that.
No, I remember, years ago, my daughters knew I was really into NASCAR, and so for Father's Day, they gave me this package. You go up to Loudon, New Hampshire, and you race a race car. What you do is you go to a class first, and they talk to you, explain what you have to do. You ought to follow one of the pros. So if you can follow the pro, you can go as fast as you want, as long as you don't lose the pro, or the pro doesn't lose you. And the pro will slow down if you don't go fast enough. But they got me 2 packages. They got me a package where I went with a pro around the track 10 times. So the first turn, I thought we were going to go right into the wall. I said, there's no way he's going to turn this. It's like you're on rails. So we go around, and we go around 10 times. So I had a good feel of the race car because they got me that package too.
Right.
A lot of people didn't get it. They drive the car around 10 times. But the Boston Globe was there that day doing a special on that. And they thought it was pretty good that my 2 daughters were there with me, and they got me the package. So they did a story on me, in the paper.
Right.
I'm there with in the car and all that. It was pretty good in the Globe that Sunday. But it was great. So I said to myself, I had it in my head, I'm not going to let the pro get away from me. I'm going to go as fast and stay with him, because if you can stay with him, he'll go faster.
Okay.
So I did that. And my average thing, because you're loud and it's not like down.
Right, it's a short track.
It's a short track. My average speed was 123.
Wow.
They had for the 10 times around. But, once I got into gear and I got onto the track, and the best thing was I went with the pro the first time, and I was sitting beside him, And I knew what, you know, you can go so fast to make that turn. Because most of the people, when they got out there, but it was really quite an experience. But I wanted to go to Daytona. There's another package they have in Daytona, a weekend pass. And that you can get up to 180 something. And what you do is you go Friday, Saturday, it's like you're 24 hours on the track, pros work with you, and then Sunday you race with the other people. You actually have a race. You know, it's a lot more expensive. I never went down, but that's one thing I would have loved to have done.
Well, speaking of fast, former New York Jet and Alabama star quarterback Joe Namath's book, he talks about how alcohol almost killed him. He's 75 years old now, and apparently in the wake of his divorce, he really hit the bottle. There was a famous episode on, I think it was Monday Night Football, where he came out and was totally intoxicated and was gushing over Susie Colbert. And anyway, so everyone, obviously not everyone has been around since the Super Bowl III back in, I think it was 1967 or 67, 68 season, where Namath boldly predicted the Jets would beat the Colts, and he delivered. So one of the most famous upset calls ever.
I was a huge fan of his. I mean, that was great football back then. You know, you had San Diego with Lance Allworth and them, and who'd they have a quarterback? I forget who the quarterback was, but it was great football.
John Hadel.
Hadel. You know,
Yeah,
the Denver teams, the Oakland teams were real good.
I think it was in '63 the Patriots got, it was something like 51 to
they got killed
3,
when they came to Foxborough.
Yeah, so the Patriots lost in the AFC Championship, and the Chargers had Allworth and Hadel and Dickie Post and Keith
Lincoln.
Lowe, they had defensive lineman Lowe. Yeah, they were really stacked. But anyway, remarkable. Anyway, we haven't talked about the NFL draft, and a lot of people feel the Patriots came away as big winners in the draft, despite the fact that they had a limited number of choices. They haven't even completed the Jimmy Garoppolo story yet. As for the second-round draft choice from San Francisco that they got, the Patriots have turned that into 7 draft choices, and they still have a fourth-round draft choice next year in 2020. So maybe Belichick structured it intentionally so nobody would ever be able to figure out what they really got.
I'll tell you, though, if they stay fairly healthy next year, they're going to win it again.
Well, they certainly have a chance, and we'll go through the draft. You know, one of the interesting features of the draft was that 8 tight ends were drafted in the first 100 picks, but the Patriots didn't draft a tight end at all. And the question is, are the Patriots going in a different direction? Are they going into a more power running game football, which they used in the Super Bowl this year? Obviously, they have a big red zone target in Keel Harry, who they got in the first round. And you know, we'll see whether they make any other trades for a tight end.
Well, you got to hope that one of the tight ends, they have 4 tight ends right now.
Right.
And the one they got from the Jets, I mean, they're fairly high on. And you got to think, you know Belichick. Like someone told me, I said, he's going to bring an offensive lineman in to block at times, and he'll be the tight end lined up like he did with Williams a lot. So he might do that with Karras. He might do it with he got 2 offensive linemen. You know, someone who can move a little if they have to go in an end around. And then, but they were talking about, he likes to have certain players who can go out and run certain pass patterns. So Harry, the first pick, will run a lot of the patterns that Gronk was running.
Yeah, he'll run.
He's big and strong.
Back shoulder fades and curls and things like that, because he can, you know, he has a big catch radius and can fight for the ball.
And then if Thomas is healthy, you got a pro there who's big and strong.
Right, and supposedly Thomas also is a guy who's been very good in working with younger players. Now, he's coming off an Achilles tendon, so we don't really know what his health is going to be.
And you have, of course, you have Edelman. You have a couple of guys from last year that got injured, the kid from Miami that they like.
Yeah, Berrios.
And the player they got from Washington, is it Harris? They got a player from an end. He's a slot back.
Yeah, there's Ellington and somebody else.
Yeah, so, I mean, and they got backs. They got some real good backs now.
Well, in
The kid from Alabama is real good.
yeah, in the second round, they got Jawan Williams, and he is the coaches down there say he's a bigger version of Richard Sherman. They're not saying he's as good as Richard Sherman, but that's the type of physical player that he is. He's 6'4" and like 215. And his favorite thing, I guess, is watching film, because he said he wants to be a coach after he gets out of the league.
Well, he was the cornerback I was hoping they drafted before the draft started. You know, I didn't know much about him, but I was watching, the night before I was watching NFL Network, and they were talking about him, where you can move him inside to cover a tight end, you can cover a big end outside. So now you got that with Jackson on the side.
Right, you have to figure that they might need somebody against the Travis Kelce's of the world. And of course, Kansas City's got their own problem with Tyreek Hill. Maybe a worse suspicion of both child abuse and significant other abuse, since they have it on tape. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to see him not missing half the season, at least, if he plays again in the NFL.
But you're looking at the Patriots, right? I mean, they got the kid from Michigan, the defensive end linebacker.
Yeah, they got a Chase Winovich, who's an edge player, who they think will, at worst, will be a situational rusher and special teams kind of madman out there. And they have some additional prospects. The Hader Froholt, the offensive lineman.
Tackle or the inside?
Well, I think they're thinking he'll be a guard. It's
They're high on him.
right. Well, I think they have who's in their contract year.
Well, no, they signed Mason. Oh, Tooney.
Yeah, Tooney's in his contract year. So, and then as you said, they got
Karras.
the Damian Harris in the third round, the Alabama running back, who's a bigger, stronger inside runner.
He's a stud, Ron.
No, I know.
I mean, you look at the guys they picked. I mean, potentially they're going to have 5 guys who are going to be very good football players for the next 10 years.
Right.
At least.
Yeah, you have. Well, if they stay healthy.
Yeah.
You know, obviously. Now, yeah, Michelle, he's kind of suspect from a health standpoint. So I think they probably and Burkhead is also another guy who's hurt all the time.
But look at their backfield now. I don't know what's going to do with Hill now, who was out all last year. They got him from Cincinnati
right.
last year. I mean, he might be the 5th back, so they may carry 5 backs.
Well, they got Bolden back to play
yeah, but
special
Bolden's not
teams.
considered.
No.
He's a guy if they get his injuries. But they're all set there. It looks like they're going to be all set, especially if Gordon can play.
Right.
They say that they really feel bad for him. The league, the big shots in the league, and maybe he'll just get a 4-game suspension, and maybe not. He signed with them.
Right. Yeah,
So,
I think they exercised whatever contract option they had, so that and they're not even on hook for his salary yet under the salary cap. So there's going to be some, if he's reinstated, some prorated salary.
what about the Stanford kicker?
Yeah, there's some talk that Gostkowski's kickoffs are getting shorter. We thought they were intentionally short, but maybe the Patriots are saying not so
Nowadays,
much.
2 years ago they were, but nowadays where they can't get a running start,
Right,
it's useless going short now.
right.
So
the Patriots really struggled at the beginning of the year trying to cover those short kicks. And
But they say this kid's unbelievable. Only 2 of his kickoffs were returned all year. I mean,
know
that's
it-
hard to believe.
I know he had a lot of touchbacks. I didn't know it was that high.
Yeah,
So we'll see. I mean,
and he can punt.
I know. So the question is, are they going to keep 3 kickers, or is it Ryan Allen? And he's right-footed. The Patriots always have a left-footed punter.
Well, the thing with Allen though is they signed him, but he's only guaranteed $100,000.
Yeah, he has kind of short money for
So
them.
I mean, this guy, they may let him go. He'll there's someone will pick him up anyway, Allen.
Well, and today they supposedly signed a swing tackle, Jared Veldier, who's a 31-year-old tackle who's played in the league for 8 or 9 years. He's been on Denver, supposedly a good player, but
He can play left and right.
I think so. So he'll be in the rotation probably.
Yeah, he'll be a good backup. But the guy they signed, who's the draft pick?
Kajust.
You said he's going to probably play guard rather than tackle.
Well, they signed another guy.
They signed 2 of them.
Yeah, Kajust I think he was from West Virginia. But anyway, so they're saying that he'll probably be the backup tackle, the developmental project, unless somehow he can beat out Cannon. Cannon's another guy who's been hurt a lot over the last couple of years.
And then they got another cornerback too. Who
Right.
knows? I mean, they're going to get younger, that's for sure.
Right, and certainly, they are one of the older teams in the league. So, and in the fourth round they got Jared Stidham, the Auburn quarterback, who was considered an outstanding prospect until his senior year, where he fell off. A lot of his offensive line graduated, and he got happy feet. And they said he just made premature exits from the pocket.
But I think he threw 60% his last year, 66% his year before. But his touchdown interception ratio is really good. Playing in that league, played great against Purdue.
Well,
and Purdue is a strong team.
Yeah, there's all kinds of talk that if somehow he's really productive, that Hoyer could become the quarterback's coach, and who knows, quarterback coach and showed up on the roster out of retirement if that happened. But we'll see. Atling didn't do anything. Atling had a long run in the final preseason game, but nobody
We'll
thinks
see.
too much.
I mean, it's good they got him. I mean, the draft is really good. All the experts rated it an A-. The rest of the league was like C's, mostly C's. One team had a B-. And a lot of the divisions, the best grade they had was C's.
Well, the issue is in the division now, there's three other quarterbacks that are young and potentially productive. You have Darnold.
I love Darnold. I think
Jets.
Darnold's going to be great.
You have Rosen, who's now in Miami. Now, one of the knocks on Rosen is that supposedly he's really smart, and he doesn't listen to people unless he thinks they're as smart as he is, which I don't know how smart he is if he got out of Arizona.
But Ron, nowadays, you don't even worry about that now. Where the Patriots' defensive backfield is probably the best in football right now, one of the top 2 or 3, which they're rating. I mean, you look at that now, and they have young players. Dawson didn't even play it down, the number 2 pick from last year. I mean, they have a ton of guys there, and you saw in the playoffs how good they became. They're going to have a pretty good defensive line, could have a real good defensive line. Their linebackers are strong again, and their defensive backs are really good. So you don't worry about those young quarterbacks who have good arms. When they're going up against a defense like that, they're going to handle them.
Well, they get Bentley back from injury.
Yeah.
They get Wynn back from injury, Dawson from injury. So they have a lot of players coming back who really didn't contribute much last year.
Yeah, I mean, what you look at is, with the draft they had, Wynn is almost like a first-round pick. Dawson's a second-round pick. Bentley's better than a fifth-round pick. I mean, you saw it. I mean, he was a steal. So I think it's, like we said, if they could stay healthy, they're definitely favored to win it again. Some people have Kansas City, but
Right. You have to wonder about Jacksonville really fell off. Kansas City's in transition. They got some improvements along the defensive line, but missing Tyreek Hill is a big deal, and it's hard to imagine that he's going to play this season. I mean, literally, it sounds like he should be in jail. If he really did break his son's arm.
oh, I know.
We'll have to see on that. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's the off season for youth basketball as far as we're concerned, at least for another couple of weeks. But I understand that you're taking a more active role in the summer program for the high school this season.
Yeah, I was asked to coach the girls the spring and summer, and maybe the fall, depending on who's playing then, because you're back into the fall sports. But yeah, we're supposed to have a meeting this weekend with the girls, and then from there we're going to decide, hopefully Sunday nights, and then playing in the Woburn League, and maybe having another Saturday morning if anybody else wants to do some work on their game. It's going to be a big year. We're going to tell the girls it's going to be a big year. They've lost 5 of the top 6 players from last year's team. It's wide open for everybody else.
Yeah, I was thinking about this topic today as far as my own players, and for individual development, there's sort of 5 things I wanted to talk about. First of all, the need to shoot better, because if you don't shoot, everything sets up off shooting. So if you have a spread offense and you're trying to run pick and roll, if you can't shoot, the defense just collapses, so you're not going to get anything open in the middle. So you might as well think, instead of having 3 shooters on the outside, you can put 3 turtles on the outside. Well, the defenders don't have to respect that. So being able to make outside shots is absolutely critical. Now, how much is enough as far as making outside shots? That's a separate issue. In college programs, some coaches insist you be able to make 6 out of 10 threes without defense on, like Roy Williams at North Carolina. There probably aren't too many high school players locally that are making 6 out of 10 in practice. Probably not even 4 out of 10. Second of all, 500 makes a day. You say, how do you get to 500? Well, for example, Steph Curry starts at 3 feet on one baseline, makes 4 in a row, goes back out another 3 feet. So he does that in 5 separate directions. That's 100 makes. Then you make 100 free throws. Then you can do box drills with your front and reverse pivots from the elbow, having to finish with either the strong hand or the opposite hand on either side of the basket. There's another 100 shots. So that's 300 shots that you made, free throws, warm-ups, box drills into layups. And that only means you have to make another couple 100 shots. You know, wing moves, catch and shoot, coming off of picks. That sounds like a lot, but if you want to be a good player, you got to learn to shoot. Third is you have to be more fit. So you can get into jumping rope 5 minutes a day. That's a terrific workout. And they have something called Tabata training. You can go online to YouTube. There's a million different exercises that people can do. 7 to 10 minute programs that have brief rest periods built in. Then you got to be able to handle the ball better. You need a go-to and a counter move, both off the catch and off the dribble. So very few people are going to be so fast that they can just beat everybody with their dominant hand. So you've got to have combination moves like hesitation and crossover, or crossover and hesitation, and then work on some inside moves. Like Perry McDonald had terrific footwork last year if you watch high school basketball. And lastly, you need to learn the game more. So build up your basketball IQ. Read a half an hour a day in the summer. Watch some basketball videos, some FIBA videos. B-ball breakdown with Coach Nick is outstanding. Coach Daniel's outstanding. So you have to learn the game, and you have to invest in yourself if you want to be a good player. If you don't want to be a good player or an accomplished player, it takes no work to sit on the bench. So, okay, you make the team, sit on the bench. Well, that's fine if that's what you want. But if you're on the bench, you shouldn't say, well, I don't get to play if you didn't put in the work.
Yeah, what I look at too is, you know, I'm all about drilling, and using that in these different games, going through the experiences. Again, you have to make mistakes to get better. You know, I mean, and some people are players even at this age are afraid to make mistakes. But I think a huge key, when I coached my friend's team last summer and I saw them playing, I worked with a couple of his players about a month ago. Your form has to be just about perfect if you're going to be a good shooter. You got to work on your form. You can go down the courts and throw up 500 shots. And if your form's not proper, you're going to be inconsistent. If you have the perfect form, then you're going to get consistent. You go down there and take 500 shots a day. If you have the perfect form, you're going to be a great shooter. I don't care who you are, you know, because there's less chance of mistakes if you're coming from the perfect spot every time. But my thing is that what I would like to do when I talk to Coach Hirschfeld about it, you know, I don't know if one practice a week is enough, because these girls, like we talked on the phone for about a half hour, these girls have to get on another level. If they're going to compete next year and make the tournament, that's going to be their big thing. I mean, again, you know, a lot of young players, a lot of inexperienced players, you know, they have the starting point guard back, which is great, Mary Kate. And then, you know, they'll have 2 or 3 seniors who are going to get a lot of playing time, a lot of juniors. You got some freshmen coming up, tall girls. They got to work on their footwork. They got to get good balance when they're releasing the ball. So there's a lot to work on. And like Coach and I talked, You know, there may not be enough time where girls are doing a number of other things, but this group especially, they can't lose the spring, the summer, and the fall.
Well, it's so important. If you want to be successful, you've got to be able to handle and apply pressure. So they've got athletic players, whether they have the experience to be able to handle the pressure against the outstanding teams like Belmont, an up-and-coming team like Stoneham, we'll see. Number two is, if you want to have any success in the playoffs, you have to be good in the half court. You have to be able to score in the half court. You got to know where the edge is yours, whether you're a screen team or a dribble drive team. And then the third thing is, you got to make 3 free throws. So many Melrose teams have gone down the drain in the postseason from inability to make free throws. My daughters played, they lost by 3 in the Garden because they were 8 for 23 from the free throw line. You know, and you can't say, well, we shoot better than that. You were 8 for 23 from the free throw line. So now that was the game that Shea had the concussion, so that there were extenuating circumstances. But you know, certain elements of success are so fundamental that if you don't have those skills, you can't succeed.
Yeah, and from the foul line, there's no excuse not to shoot 70%. If you really care about it and you work in your game, and again, you have the right form, you're going to bury those foul shots. I mean, if you have that good form, that nice release, the little arc, you know, some girls, they shoot it flat. When they're struggling from the foul line, they shoot foul shots coming up flat most of the time. It's catching the front of the rim, just bouncing off. But, you know, you work on that. I mean, it's, like again, with this group, and you have a very good group. You have 3 players or more that are going to be very good high school players if they all go to the high school. But, you know, I mean, this group here, they've got to put the work in. If they don't put the work in, when I'm afraid that they're going to go from and I'm going to be honest, if they don't put the work in, they're going to be a 5-win team. All right, I can tell you right now, the high school team will win 5. If they put the work in this spring, summer, and fall, they'll make the tournament. Well, how good they're going to get, you don't know, but they'll make the tournament.
Yeah, Urban Meyer, the football coach at Ohio State, has a concept called 10-80-10. And he says, with every team, a football team, 10% are at the top, 80% are in the middle, and 10% are at the bottom. And he said, the idea is to get people dragged up to the next level. So he insists that all the players, the top 10% of the players, you can't work out unless you bring somebody. So if you want to get more out of shooting practice, you need a rebounder. So whether it's your sibling or your parent, or better yet, your teammate, grab somebody and get them to work out with you. And you know, if people need shooting programs, I'm more than happy to give them what I have. I'm more than happy to give them information I get from being an administrator on a private coach's website with 3,400 coaches in the United States. You know, and you become the player that you invest your time in. Let's talk about the Bruins. Eastern Conference Finals again. And if you said, how did they do it? Basically, it was like the Geico ad with the walrus in goal. They had the walrus in goal, and nobody could get the puck past the walrus.
They've got some good young players, though, the Bruins. You know, I mean, they're going to be good for years to come. And the thing is now is they're favored to win it. I mean, they have an excellent chance of winning it right now. You know, I think they're going to win it.
Well, you know, obviously we don't know what's going to happen with McAvoy as far as getting a suspension.
The most he'll get is 1 game. He probably won't get one because if you see it, he didn't lift his elbow. He didn't even hit him with his elbow.
Hit him with his shoulder.
And if you saw it,
he kind of dropped his head.
He hit his number 77 shoulder first, then he caught his jaw. But I don't think he's going to get a suspension. He may get a fine.
Well, we'll see. But Rask was spectacular. He had a .948 save percentage against Columbus, and the Bruins fans didn't have to listen to those cannons go off very often.
What's going on with Chara, though, Ron? He played a little better last night.
I know. On The Athletic, Fluto Shinzawa he only had 1 down player for yesterday's game, McAvoy, because of the penalty, but Chara, he's looking very slow and shaky in his own end.
Carlos helped him out a lot.
Yeah, so obviously he has another contract, but I mean, he really struggled. What was really impressive to me is the line with Corrali on it was really flying.
He's a great skater. The Boston and him are two real good. They got a lot of young players that are good. I mean, they could all turn out to be very good players. There's like 6 of them, 6 young players that, I mean, if they all come together the way it looks like they are going, they're very good skaters. They hit well.
Well, Coyle had been playing really well in the first few games of the series, not as well in the last.
Well, he made that terrible pass in the game they lost.
Yeah, but the other late season acquisition, Johansson, had the second goal last night, which that looked like kind of a bad goal from a goalie perspective for Bobrovsky, who's an unrestricted free agent. But he was terrific in the series too.
But I mean, the future is great for them. I mean, the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I guess the question is whether they're going to want to keep paying Krug at the same level for the degree of production when they've got guys like Clifton coming along.
But the one thing about Krug, he wasn't playing good early in the series, but he's had some real good games, and he's taken some hits.
Right. Well, what was apparent as a non-hockey fan, relatively speaking, is that a lot of times they went away from one defenseman on the power play to 2 because they were creating so many opportunities for Columbus.
Let me ask you something. We're big basketball fans. You know, I love the Celtics. You know, I don't like this team the way they're playing, but I love the Celtics. I've always liked the Bruins. I love the Bruins when Esposito and Orr were playing.
Sure.
Cashman and Hodge.
Early 70s.
You know, we all loved them then. And then with Neely, you know, I always watch them, but I'm not as big fan as I am with the Celtics. The Celtics and Patriots come before the Bruins, but I always root for the Bruins. Well, I got to tell you, I mean, the Bruins are far above the Celtics. When you talk about effort, I mean, what a disgrace the Celtics are.
Yeah, the Celtics,
this team compared to this Bruins team.
The Celtics, at times in the series, have clearly quit. I mean, you know, it's embarrassing to say that, but they have. And the other thing about the Bruins games, watching the games, is Emmerich's a phenomenal announcer.
Yeah, he's
the guy is unbelievable.
He knows everybody's name, and he doesn't hesitate. You know, he's constantly going. He needs a break when they call it icing or something.
Well, there was a list. I don't know if it was real or fake, but he had a list of like 40 words he uses for pass. You know, jammed in, sticked in, you know, and apparently he goes down the list and
he's probably
changes.
the best there is. And when you talk about hockey, I mean, every other sport's so much easier to do. I mean, that's really tough to do.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal announcer, and even if the game, if you're watching a game where the Bruins aren't involved, he's so into it. I mean, and at the end of the game when they're going through the handshake line, and you know, you hear him say, "I love this game." You know, he really does.
Yeah, they said it after the game. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, just compare it. I mean, it's really the Celtics are really a disgrace compared to the Bruins. When you look at effort, the Bruins' effort, every second they're out there, they're going 100 miles an hour. They're taking hits. They're hitting people. They're diving to block shots.
Right,
and you look at the Celtics. Tatum's afraid to step in on the Greek Freak when he's coming down the middle. Kyrie gives him. It's almost like he was there, and he says, "Come right through." Kyrie did a couple of times because he was upset he wasn't shooting well.
Well, the shot blocking from both teams is really exceptional. You know, at the end of Game 5 when McAvoy laid out and took it off the inside of the skate.
But when you talk about it, though, Ron, it's like they're real men, and the Celtics are like boys that are afraid to get hit. I mean, you got guys, Morris is playing hard. And the thing that shows it is they thought that Smart was going to be the guy that was going to take care of, the defensive end. He takes 5 3-pointers, knowing he's been out for a month. If I'm coaching you, right, and you're coming back after a month, you know, and you're not a good shooter anyway, like, you know, so if I'm talking to Smart, I'm saying, listen, play the good D, move the ball around, maybe, you know, take the ball to the hoop if you have an angle, but don't go crazy with the threes. And do you think Stevens says anything? Everybody knows you're not going to be on.
Well, the whole NBA game is now awful to watch in large part because you don't, as Popovich says, you don't see good basketball anymore because people pass it around, take threes, or periodically they'll try to get layups if you have a Harden. But, I mean, Popovich basically said the game is terrible right now, and it's spreading to college, and it'll spread to high school, but it makes no sense for young players to take an abundance of threes unless they can make them. Just being able to, yes, I can see the basket doesn't make you a shooter.
But a big factor too is, I mean, when you have the Bruins playing and the Celtics playing, I mean, they got to be hearing it, the Celtic players. I mean, we're big basketball fans, and I'm looking at the Celtics. To me, they're a disgrace. I'm looking at the Bruins saying, geez, you talk about a team you want to watch. You know, the way they play, and the Celtics are over here, and they've basically been a disaster. They don't care. They have no heart. They got Kyrie, who cares about himself. I mean, none of them want to play with him. Ainge doesn't know that. They're not listening to Stevens.
Well, I think you have a situation where so many young guys are playing for their future. I mean, they want to win, of course, but they're playing for the contracts that they haven't had. Whereas in the NBA, you have even players who are lower. I mean, a guy like Yabusele's making over $3 million. I mean, and he doesn't even play, which is, I mean, that's the way the structure of the league is. That's the revenues. Salary cap's over $100 million. And some teams are paying $140 or $150 million.
And is Ainge crazy giving him 3-point-something million? What
I
does he do?
I don't know.
What is he going to ever do?
I don't know what he was thinking about.
The Celtics need, I'm telling you now, the Celtics need a guard who distributes the ball, plays good defense, can hit the open shot, doesn't have to be a superstar, and you got to hope the rest of the players develop with him. Because there is talent there, but they got to start showing it, and they got to start playing with a lot more heart.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. You know, the Celtics could have as many as 4 draft choices in this draft, but which, of course, if they end up with that many, they won't be top end.
We got to hope that New Orleans general manager's dumb, really, that he thinks Tatum's going to be Tatum smart, and maybe 3 first-round picks will do it for Davis. I think after watching Tatum now,
well, I think Tatum's value's gone down some in the postseason this year. So, you know, and presumably, I mean, I can't see them. I think Kyrie's just going to go. He's going to go to New York. Durant, especially if the Warriors don't win, he'll probably go to New York. So they'll have hope in New York City.
We're saying all this, and watch the Celtics come out and beat Milwaukee at Milwaukee. They all play great. Maybe they were embarrassed, and maybe they will come out.
Well,
that's going to be a key run. It's Wednesday night, right?
Is
it Wednesday? I think it's Wednesday.
Yeah.
That's going to be a key. Let's see how much heart they have. If they come out disgusted about the last few games and come out and play the way they should.
Well, we're big basketball fans, but it's been painful to watch the Celtics in the last few games. And fortunately, there's been other good games in other NBA series, so I've been watching more of the other series than I usually watch.
Did I tell you my friend gave up his tickets before the playoffs?
No.
My friend, we were going to the games.
Right.
And after the LA Clippers and Laker game, we got so disgusted with the effort in that game that a couple of weeks later he gave back his tickets. They called him for the playoffs, and he goes, not only am I not going to the playoffs, I'm not coming next year.
Well,
he gave up his season tickets.
In any event, we'll have plenty more hockey to watch this season as the Bruins play the Carolina Hurricanes.
They're going to win it, Ron.
I hope
They're
they
gonna win
do.
it.
We'll be right back. Well, there's an old saying about there's only so many ways to skin a cat. Well, the Arizona Wildcats are going to see how much skin they have left after the NCAA finishes their investigation. The assistant coach apparently is caught on tape saying that they were paying DeAndre Ayton $10,000 a month. And Sean Miller, the head coach, said he didn't know anything about it, which everybody says is impossible. Just like Pitino didn't know anything about all the recruiting shenanigans that were going on in Louisville. So I would imagine that this scandal is going to go much further, and Sean Miller is almost certainly going to be out of a job at Arizona.
Yeah, they all have people that handle things that are not close to them, not known as close to them, and they handle it, and they don't, they'll talk to them every once in a while, but they try to keep it away from the head
I
coach.
saw something that was fascinating to me, that in 40 out of the 50 states, the highest paid state employee is either a football coach or a basketball coach, which makes total sense, which is probably true in Massachusetts. Is Derek Kellogg still the coach out at UMass? I think he was making, I want to say $1.5 million, but pretty good money. So
It's what you're bringing in, for the school, like Oriema for UConn girls, bringing in a ton of money, and they were complaining that he was one of the highest, but not close to the boys basketball coach. The boys basketball coach was making double what he was making. One year he just didn't accept any money.
well, he just opened another restaurant.
Yeah.
So when we went to his
In his
restaurant,
hometown.
it was pretty good.
Oh yeah, it was really good. I've gone there every year. I go down for a game. We make reservations.
All right. The NBA playoffs, we'll get to the Celtics, but overall, except for the Celtics series, the other series are really compelling. You have Golden State and Houston. There's a lot of bad blood there. There's a play last night. Now, a couple years ago, Chris Paul had gone in for a drive and kneed Kevin Durant in the groin. So last night, Durant's going up for a rebound, which he doesn't get. He turns his head and sees Paul and throws his elbow right into his neck. And people said, "Oh, why did he do that?" It's like, he has a long memory. That's why he did that.
What they give him?
No, they didn't do anything.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Houston could beat them.
No, Houston, it's unpleasant to watch how they play because James Harden has the ball.
How can anybody want to play with Harden?
He comes down, he dribbles between his legs 5 times, and then he either drives or shoots because, nobody can stay with him.
Takes us 30 shots a game while his teammates are watching him. They can't enjoy playing with him.
No, but he's and defensively he's a liability, but offensively he's basically unstoppable one-on-one, and he can make 40% plus of his long range threes. His step back is unbelievable. He has a tendency to land ahead of where he shoots, and that's drawing additional fouls. Klay Thompson got a couple last night. He's got a pretty good supporting cast. I really like Capella. Capella is a good offensive rebounder and shot blocker, and he gets into the lane, and then he doesn't really look to score as much as he does to dish back out to one of their three-point shooters, like Eric Gordon, Paul, Harden. And they have just a really interesting program.
Right. Left in the playoffs right now, who are the superstars? A true superstar. Not a very good player, a superstar.
All right, obviously Curry, Durant. Klay Thompson has taken a step back in my view. Maybe somebody's going to give him $30 million, but I think they're going to be sorry if they pay him that much. Draymond Green is not maybe he's going to be a Hall of Fame player in a complimentary
Yeah,
sense.
but who are the superstars? You
Okay.
don't eliminate anybody.
All
Tell
right.
me who the superstars
Well,
are.
Paul and Harden are on Houston, and then in the West, Nikola Jokic is incredible. Although he's he is, in my opinion, a dirty player. And then you have Lillard and McCallum on Portland are both superstars. And then in the East, you have Embiid, Kawhi Leonard. I don't consider Jimmy Butler a top 10 player in the NBA. And I'm blanking on their guard, who I can't stand.
For who?
For Philly.
Oh, Simmons?
Simmons, yeah. The guy, he's been in the NBA 2 years and hasn't made a three-point shot yet. So he just can't shoot, which is kind of a liability. And then, of course, the Greek Freak is probably the best player in the league now. He's pretty much totally unstoppable. And then
Right.
Kyrie has done nothing in
I got 4 superstars that are playing now.
All right.
You got the Greek Freak. You got Leonard. Okay, that's it in the East.
Okay.
Just those 2. You go to the West. I hate to have to. Durant's a superstar.
Yep.
I hate to have to say this guy Harden because I hate his game. I just hate his game. How anybody can want to play with him. You know, he's just an eventual disaster to the team.
I think if he gets to a 7th game and he needs to deliver, he's kind of choked in the clutch in the past. So, we'll see.
Durant, Kyrie, Harden. To me, Durant, Kyrie, Harden, the Greek Freak, and Leonard.
Yeah, Leonard
Superstars.
is ridiculous.
I mean, Kyrie's a superstar. He's not a superstar. He has super talent, but he's not a superstar because he doesn't know how to use it. And he's not a player, even though he's made big shots when he was with Cleveland. He's not a superstar.
Well, I was looking through the Myers-Briggs personality inventory. There's 16 different categories, and everybody would be bored to tears to even discuss it. But so I wanted to know if people had ever tested him or put him in one of these categories, which was INTP. And basically, to make it simple, he's an elite kind of intellectual player who's detached from everyone else. He's kind of like other people who fell into that category, people like Abraham Lincoln. So it's not that he doesn't get along, he just doesn't think the same way everybody else does. So he kind of thinks about himself much more than the team. He's a cat in a dog's world. And, I think that you see in the Celtics this great division between the established veterans and the rising stars who, Jason Tatum has totally fallen off. He's only averaging 11.5 points in the series. Hayward's only averaging 7.5 points. Can't say he's a rising star. I don't know what's going on with him in the playoffs this round. And then Rozier's only averaging 5.5. So Rozier's gone to useless. And the player who's stepped up really has been Jaylen Brown, who's been pretty good.
Well, who's been their best player, and which is a surprise to me, because I wanted him gone after this year. Morris.
Oh, yeah, Morris has really shot the ball well.
14 rebounds the other day, working hard on the boards, played great against Indiana.
Well, he's playing for the next contract.
No, but I mean, he's really played really well. And the thing is, Kyrie has to go.
Yeah, he's going. He's going to be in New York.
No, I mean, Ainge has to let him go. Ainge is crazy if he offers him that big contract. He's got to let him go. My thinking now is that these players are not going to develop with him or Smart, as far as I'm concerned, because Stevens doesn't know how to use Smart. I mean, Stevens is another story, but you know my feeling about him. He should be coaching college because he can't coach pros.
Well, I think they have. I mean, I think Ainge, who had a heart attack recently, so it's tough to get on the guy too much. But I think that the roster is currently constructed. Obviously, the players just don't get along. There's a real chemistry problem right now.
But and I go back to last year when the Celtics were doing good, and on the show I told you that Stevens. My feeling is Stevens is not as good as people think he is, even when the Celtics were doing good last year. Because just the way I saw him coaching, things worked out well. I mean, he's a good coach, but he's not great. But this year, he's turned out to be a really bad coach. He's either the dumbest coach I've ever seen, or the players aren't listening to him at all. And he's got to know that the players just aren't listening to him, and he's better off going back to college. Because in the pros, you get these pros, they're making the money.
Well, I think what's happened is the Celtics are not providing any interior defense or resistance or help. Yesterday, the Bucks scored 66 points in the paint, which is like the most the Celtics have ever given up since recorded statistics.
But, Ron, you watch him play. They're quitters, number one.
They did quit.
Tatum is the biggest dog, and I love Tatum. Tatum and Hayward were my favorite players. I mean, I love Hayward when he was playing with Utah, the type of player he was. And what I'm seeing now, you got Rozier, you got Tatum, and you got Hayward playing terrible basketball. Terrible. And the biggest dog out of the three of them is Tatum. Well, he's afraid to step in front of you. Well, he's got no heart. No heart at all coming out of Duke.
Well, they're getting 0 out of the bench. I mean, literally 0. And with Kyrie Irving only shooting, well, they have Irving, Hayward, Rozier, and Tatum are all shooting less than 40%. I'm not just 40% on threes, we're talking 40% period. So they're not making shots, they're not defending at the rim. Their number of assists is really low. They have the lowest amount of offensive rebounds of any of the 16 teams that went in the playoffs. You know, so the statistics are just telling you how unaggressive they are overall.
But except for Tatum, who gets along with Kyrie, they both went to Duke and they've worked out together. You know, he's like his little brother, I guess, his younger brother. Kyrie is hurting everybody else on the team. No one wants to play with him. Hayward does not want to play him. Kyrie is the biggest reason why Hayward's playing like he's playing. Because Kyrie wants to be the big guy. He wants to handle the ball. The best player on the team handling the ball is Hayward. He should be handling the ball in the half court. And he gets the ball once in a while, so then he misses 2 shots, went a little too long. He's not getting the ball anymore. Kyrie doesn't look for him anymore. And then you got to get Brown going. Tatum's got to do his dribbling and all, taking his jump shots, you know. And that's the way it goes. Morris, I was really down on, but he's played really good in the playoffs. He's been their best player. And I'm not going to get down on Horford because of the last 2 games he didn't play well, because Horford, to me, has had a really good year.
Well, when they're in the bottom 5 in the league in going to the free throw line and they're not shooting well, it tells you they can't possibly win because they can't score without shooting extremely well from the periphery because they don't go to the basket at all.
But you know what? I've come to the conclusion, you know, I'm hoping that Tatum, he's 21 years old. I'm hoping as he gets older, he gets tougher. You know, a lot of the players do. Because he has no heart right now. He has no heart, Tatum. He doesn't step in front of a guy. He lets him go by him. Doesn't try. He never takes an offensive charge. But you know what else? You know, I'm down on him big time, and I loved him last year.
Well, who's going to be in the, first of all, the conference finals? It's obviously going to be Milwaukee in 1.
I think Philly's going to beat Toronto. I think it's all Leonard for Toronto now. What's going on with Ibaka and all those guys? They're doing nothing.
Yeah, they have to rely on Seacom to do too much.
And Seacom's it's starting to get to him.
And Lowry's a real good player, but he's not a superstar. So I agree. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Philly against Milwaukee and then Milwaukee beats Philadelphia. And then in the West, I think Golden State Houston is a toss-up right now.
I think both of them. Denver. It could be Denver and Houston.
It could be. I mean, Jokic got a little bit hurt the other night. Portland's got injuries. Cantor, I don't know if you saw the play where Jokic was boxing out and he just basically slammed his shoulder into Cantor's bad shoulder, trying to hurt him.
Jokic is something, though, huh?
He might be the best passing big man I've ever seen. I mean,
and they run their offense through him.
Even better than Sabonis. I mean, he's amazing as a passer. I mean, he can stand out on the foul line extended beyond the 3 and just flick it to the other corner like it's nothing. He's so big.
But you know, getting back to the Celtics run, who knows? Who knows if they come up if they all come up and play hard. You know, Hayward plays good. I mean, they all have the potential to play well if they can click. I mean, I don't see Milwaukee as a powerhouse. They're really good.
Well, there's only historically, if you're down 3-1 in the NBA playoffs, you got a 5% chance of winning.
But Ron, how about this? You know the Greek goes to the basket, and you know half the time he spins. If he's going with his left hand, and you've got him covered from the left, you take this left away as he's driving, he's going to spin. They took one offensive foul on him, and all the times he drove last night, and it was Morris. But it wasn't on a spin move. He just stepped in when he drove, and he took the 2 plays before that, he could have taken another one. He was standing there, and he did the spin move. And I says, why did Morris just step in and take the offensive foul? Why doesn't Stevens work on that? Whenever he's going left or right, if you have a pretty good defensive position on him, he's going to spin on you. That guy on that weak side should be sliding down.
Well, in Game 3, not to whine about the officiating, but the officiating was terrible in Game 3. Last night, not so much.
Yeah, but Kyrie killed him in Game 2. Don't forget, the Celtics had all the momentum going into Game 2.
Well, we'll
And
shift.
Kyrie played terrible
Well,
basketball.
we'll shift gears for a little bit of baseball talk. The Red Sox have overcome their 6-13 start. Now they're 2 games under 500. They're in hailing distance now. The Yankees have been amazing considering the astronomical number of
You're
injuries
getting some
they have.
players back, but now Paxton's out. Severino's out until after the All-Star break.
Yeah, it does make you wonder somehow when all these guys are. I mean, the Red Sox lost Price with his elbow, Evaldi elbow, so they're down. Their 4th and 5th starters are
But
not
you know
good.
what's going to happen though when the weather gets warm and
they're going to hit.
I mean,
you know.
they'll knock off like 13 out of 15. They'll go 13-2. They'll go over 500 by at least 10, and then the second half of the year, they'll pull away.
Well, Betts warmed up. J.D. Martinez is.
How about Chavez?
Yeah, Chavis has been unbelievable. He doesn't just hit home runs; he hits tape measure
Bullets.
home runs. So he's got. I think they said he was the first Red Sox player since Sam Horn to have 6 home runs in his first 14 games. Defensively, he's not great, but you're going to have to keep his bat in there somewhere. You can move him around, play him at third. They've played him at first. He hasn't been bad there. DH him some, because you could put Martinez in the outfield and bench Bradley, who can't hit at all. It looks like Bradley worked overtime in the offseason to try to fix his swing, and he's back to his 150 self. And then we'll see about Tampa Bay. Now, of course, I guess we'd be remiss not to talk about the Red Sox visiting the White House or not visiting the White House. Some of the players are going and some of the players are not going.
You hear Buckley's little joke?
No, I didn't hear.
What do you say? The White Sox are going to
Yeah, so
to the White
all
House,
the Latin players and African-American players are not
except
going.
for Martinez.
Well, I didn't see Martinez.
He's going.
Oh, really? I didn't see him on the list of committed.
But he's been a supporter. He's been a supporter of the president since last year. So I would think he would still go. They had him on the list of going.
And Cora, he said that after discussion with his family and friends in Puerto Rico, he didn't think in good conscience that he could go.
Is that
whatever.
true that they gave $81 billion to Puerto Rico?
No.
How much they give him?
They gave him basically a handshake and a wave.
There was a lot of more. I know for a fact because there's more money to Puerto Rico than Texas and Florida.
No, that's wrong. The Puerto Rico got the short end of the stick, and a lot of the money went to contractors that were supporters of the president. So basically, it were political contributions.
They're saying they're saying the politicians in Puerto Rico took a lot of the money.
No, so Puerto Rico got very little. They had I don't know what their infrastructure standpoint is right now, but you decide to go, you decide not to go. So it's. What difference does it really make? In the end of both sides are making, every president makes a political statement by trying to get people to go. The Baylor women's basketball team apparently didn't want to go, but they were forced to go. And
did they go?
They went. And if you look at the pictures online, they are pictures of a team that didn't want to go. And after all, they did get to get Burger King or whatever else. There was fast food again. There wasn't any kind of big welcoming spread. So it wasn't that big a deal, but it didn't go well. But the players were told not to say anything about the conditions of them showing up. But in any event, they had to go. So I've enjoyed being with you tonight. I'm Ron Sen.
And I'm Ralph LaBella, and thank you for watching Let's Talk Sports.